Welcome to Marriage LLC, the podcast for entrepreneurial couples navigating the intersection of love and business. Whether one or both of you are business owners, we dive into the real conversations about balancing marriage, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. Together, we'll explore how to nurture self-purpose, strengthen your relationship, and grow a thriving business without sacrificing what matters most. Introduce who you are and what you do, and yeah.
Cool. I am Jess DuBose, and I'm an ADHD coach. I help ADHDers mm, move out of their own way so that they can live the life they say they want to be living. And I do that through lots of different ways. We do one-to-one coaching. I have a community. I have a course I'm working on that's almost finished. I have a show on YouTube. There's lots of different ways to connect with me, but that is who I am and what I do.
That's awesome. Um, we met last year at ThriveCon, and I immediately knew I was going to have you on my podcast, the Biz Over Beer podcast. But then when I found out about your book, what's your book's name? What's the title of your?
I Don't Hate My Ex-Husband.
Okay. And when I heard that, I go, oh my, I got to get her on a couple of times. So thank you for jumping on the Marriage LLC podcast.
Mhm.
So what made you write that book?
That's a really good question. I wrote the introduction and I sent it to my ex-husband and I said, I want to write this book. What do you think? It wasn't about getting his permission, but I also recognized that it's not just my story, and I really wanted to honor him through the whole process.
Mm.
So he read it. He was like, write it. I don't want to be part of the process, but I would like to read it before you publish it. And that's what we did. Um, and so I over the course of a year and a half, I started every time I had an idea, I would start writing things in like a Google Doc about my ideas. And so I had like snippets of things here and there over the course of a year and a half. And then um, I got a loving kick in the ass from a fellow coach friend because I was wanting to finish the book but hadn't done it yet. And he's like, well, when do you want it done? And so then I gave myself a deadline and I wrote the majority of the book in like a month.
Wow.
And then published it in June of 2020.
Wow. And were you just was I think you talked a little bit about it, but like the book that your book was kind of a novel to your past self, right?
Yeah,
Something like
so
that.
yeah, it's our love story. It's me learning, like moving through my grief of the ending of our relationship and then me learning to love myself. And the book is not like a typical book. All the chapters are relatively short. Some of them are snippets of stories over a course of time. So like there's one chapter that's called grocery shopping, and then you just kind of snip through time about different conversations I had with Morris about grocery shopping. And then there's other chapters that are letters, like I've written letters to the readers, I've written letters to Morris, I've written letters to the past version of myself in there. I wrote a letter to grief, personifying grief, and there's poems throughout too. So it's a good representation of me and how
Yeah.
I am and who I am. And I'm really actually so proud of it.
Yeah, that's you should be. It's amazing. And um, I think people are probably wondering, why do you have this Jess DuBose lady on talking about ADHD and marriage and communication? And I'm like, trust me, it'll all make sense after we talk. Okay. So for those, I just want to lay that down from the beginning.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. We're talking about marriage to somebody who's divorced, and what does ADHD have to do with it? That makes sense.
So Um, have you ever, this is a question, like, have you ever worked with couples before? Like where one spouse has ADHD or both do, or have you ever done that yet?
I mean, I have clients who are in relationships, but I haven't worked with couples yet. That's something I'd be open to, but that's not something I have had the
Mhm.
privilege of doing just yet.
Yeah. So, with your experience formerly married with somebody with ADHD, what was the communication like between the two of you?
Communication's really interesting. Um, because both of us are very well educated and very eloquent speakers. Um, and my ex-husband has a degree in relational communication. So we
Wow.
that it was really great. But there are a lot of things that were not great. Um, and each of us bringing our own baggage into our relationships.
Mm.
Some of mine being my family tends to be pretty passive aggressive and manipulative, and that's what I knew. And so that's how I was. I don't really think that I act like that much anymore, but at the time, I didn't know any different. I was like, what, 24, 25 when we got married. Um, and so I brought all of that in to like a relationship where I'm like expecting all of these things, but not actually saying what is my expectation. You just should know. You should be able to read my mind. That's not how that works. And
Mm.
then living with an ADHD or trying to find the balance of not telling them what to do and not being a parent, but also having a friendly reminder when needed because it was forgotten. It, Towing that line was not an easy thing for me to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who has ADHD, who's gifted
Yes.
with ADHD, uh, it's listening, it's being able, and like listening has always been a, a struggle, and it's not because I'm not interested, it's because I'm distracted. Um, when you were married, was he a good listener? What was that part of it, or how was he as a listener?
So there's a lot of things about that is really interesting because at first uh, there was a lot of not eye contact happening, and I would get frustrated because it felt like because in our society we're taught that if you're looking at someone, that means you're listening. That
Mm.
is not always the case. You could be looking at someone and not listening to them at all. And I found out pretty early on that that was the case for Morris. Is if he was looking at me, he probably wasn't listening. But if
Right.
he was like playing a game on his phone, he was more in tune with what I was talking about. So I had to get used to the non eye contact thing to realize the overstimulation, he needed the energy to go somewhere so that he could actually hear what I was saying.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes. I tell my wife this all the time. Like, are you going to listen to me? You're looking at your phone. I will come back to you when you're not looking at your phone. I go, no, you can keep going. I'm fine. It's almost like you remember, do you have kids? You don't have kids? Okay. Okay. Well, there was a thing, and maybe you remember this, the fidget spinners. You remember fidget spinners? Okay. To me, the phone is kind of like a fidget spinner. It
100%.
it it has my I can focus on this, and that enables me to take in what you're trying, like the listener or the speaker. It's so
I get what
weird.
you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so weird. Um, I'm just like, I want to go to my wife. See, I told you.
Well, it was something that took me a long time to like figure out and learn how to do and be okay with because it was like, oh right, he's listening to me more if I was actually looking at the phone. Like this is just what society has told us what listening looks
Mm.
like. That doesn't mean we have to do it that way. The other thing that we got really good at, I'm an external processor and he's an internal processor. So that means in order for me to get to my conclusion, I have to talk and then it'll come out eventually. And so sometimes I don't actually need you to listen to what I'm saying. I just need to be talking out loud. And so we got to the point where it was like, he would say, I'm not listening. I'm like, that's fine. I don't need you to listen right now. And then eventually, if I got to a point where I needed him to listen, I'm like, are you available to listen? Like, that's part of the thing, too, that I think people don't understand is we often will walk into a room and just expect somebody to start listening. But if an ADHDer is hyper focused on the thing they're doing, you interrupting them is going to interrupt the whole flow. And it took them, you don't know how long it took them to get into that state of flow, probably 2 hours or more. And so that is so actually rude. And so you have to check in to see if that person's available to connect in that moment or not.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of my next, point is miscommunication. Miscommunication just isn't verbal. It's a lot of things. It's more than that, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, you're not understanding what I'm saying. It's more like, a big one is missing cues from your partner, and how that goes. And after a while you think you know it, but you're still doing the same thing over and over again, and you feel like you're making mistakes. And we kind of talked about that at the Biz Over Beer podcast too, is about how society has really dictated and put a stigma on the what is it that use the mind, the different mind? I don't want to say ADHD here anymore because I want to use what you say. What is it again?
I call it, well, ADHD is your motherfucking superpower. I often say that.
No, but the mind, like it's the.
Oh, yeah. So ADHD, technically it stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But that's a really terrible name for it because it's not a deficit of attention, it's a regulation of attention problem. And so people, if you are married to an ADHD or you have witnessed them in the hyper-focused state where they forget to eat, forget to go to the bathroom, forget everything else because they're so fixated on the thing that they're working on. So to say attention deficit, it's like, no, you can see their attention going in this particular place. It's an attention regulation. Like, where do I put my energy, my attention, when and where?
Yeah, I love that. And I think we were talking about before is how society has kind of taken that and put a stigma, a negative stigma on it. And we talked about schools, but also in business and in marriage, I would think, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess. It's like, it's not just in regular or everyday life. It's in our, our marriage life, our business life. It's everywhere.
Like, it's everything is supposed to look this specific way.
Right.
And we have to do it this way. I'll give you a very clear example. I have a chapter in my book called it's not called this, but it's just about the dishwasher.
Okay.
Right? I would consistently walk into the kitchen and all of the cabinets would be open, the dishwasher's open, and like a third of it was emptied. Like, where the fuck is Morris and why is he not put the rest of the dishes away? It is not that hard, right? Like, that's the thing. I'm like, I'm trying to get in here. This is a small space. I want to do these things. I can't. All the shit is everywhere. Like, what is happening? So eventually I finally got to a point where I asked Morris, like, why are you doing it this way? Like, why are you taking 5 hours to empty the fucking dishwasher? He's like, because I like to do it that way. I come into the kitchen, I put a few dishes away, I go and do something else. I come back, I put a few dishes away, and I go and do something else. I'm like, oh. So I got to this space where I was like, okay, it's not wrong. It's just different than how I would do it. Even if I still think it's stupid for whatever reason, and it's not. It's just not how I would do it. It doesn't feel efficient to me. I have German in my blood. Efficiency is part of who we are. And so, like, 10 minutes to empty the dishwasher. What are you talking about? Not even. Like, but like, oh, it's not wrong. It's just different. That's the name of the chapter. It's not wrong. It's just different. And I had to, like, for everything, like, we do everything differently. And so I had to start seeing, like, okay, this is not wrong. It's just different. And I have to, like, allow him. And if I'm upset about it, then I can just empty the dishwasher my damn self. Like,
Oh,
in that way, then I
interesting.
can just do it because it's not a him problem. It's a me problem.
Wow. That's interesting. I mean, do you think, and I apologize, I have not read your book, but did you inadvertently hurt his feelings at some point, not being sensitive to how he thinks and how he?
Oh, probably. I probably did all the time until I started to understand, like,
Mhm.
that I was hurting his feelings.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was such different. While I have a degree in music education, and I had a professor who taught us about ADHD. I had a little understanding, but I didn't have that much of an understanding until I was married and I got to, like, live with it.
I mean, were there a lot of did you fight a lot or not really? Like,
Yes,
fight? Yeah.
fight is
I shouldn't say it like that, but yes, I'm going to, because you're like part Italian too, right? Right?
I'm
Yeah.
an Italian.
So yeah, I'm gonna say fight.
But fighting for us looked different than how you might think it was, because a lot of times I think of fighting, I think of screaming, but neither of us did that.
Mhm.
I would childishly, like, just leave and slam the door behind me. I would walk away and be so fucking upset that I
Yeah.
couldn't, because I also, the stigma of, like, women are not supposed to be angry. I
Oh,
didn't know how to allow myself to be angry.
I never heard that. Is that a
Really?
thing? Oh yeah, I never heard that. I mean, should meet my wife.
Well, there is in our culture, uh, it's like there's this stigma that women are not allowed to be angry, and if they are, it's like this thing. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be meek and mild and do what they're
Yeah.
told. And the moment that there's this, like, anger, like, it's the worst thing in the world. But for men, they're not allowed to be sad. They can be angry, but they're not allowed to be sad. Right? You can't
Yeah.
do it.
Oh, yeah. Um. So you got divorced, wrote this book, and then you decided. So what came first, the book or you coaching and helping people?
So I technically started my coaching business in 2018, but I didn't start coaching ADHDers until after the book.
So after the book.
Yeah.
And you were kind of talking about before, it's like people approached you, right? They were more about, like, when are you going to start your workshop or whatever? Yeah. And you're like, what workshop?
Right. Like, I don't have ADHD. Why would I do that?
Did that come out of nowhere? Were you like, oh, I guess I will do it now?
Well, yeah, because I started to see how I was teaching, because at the time I was living with some ADHDers, and I was teaching them about their own ADHD because of my experience with my ex-husband and some other friends too. I was, like, teaching them about their ADHD, and I was like, oh, okay. So I did a workshop on unapologetically ADHD. That was my
Yeah.
first workshop for ADHDers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome. So what would be, you know, advice to a spouse? We'll just stick with marriage right now. Then we'll go to business later. But what would be some advice for somebody whose spouse has ADHD and they don't? And, what would be, from your experience, what would be some of the things that you would tell yourself that you can now tell them?
Well, some of the things that I didn't know what I didn't know before I was married is like, this is a person that I love, and rather than feeling like they're the enemy or fighting against them like they are, we want to focus the whatever the issue is where it's not us against each other, it's us against the issue. And
Mm.
so working together on whatever the issue is. And so maybe the issue has to do with their ADHD, maybe it doesn't, but then we're like partners in this. Like, okay, this is something that's really frustrating to me, but why? Like, okay, why is this frustrating to me? And is it something that's them, they're doing something that's harming me? Probably not, but this is what I'm perceiving it as, or this is what my unreasonable expectation is. And then having a, like, getting real with ourselves is really important. But then then I would, anyone that is married to an ADHDer, I would just like teach them the ways that they can really love on an ADHDer. And it's always like very small, simple things, but like, you know that they have time blindness, you know that they have executive functioning issues. Like, do the things that support them with their well-being. They might not be drinking enough water, so every time you see their water bottle, just fill it up for them. They're not going to remember
Mm.
to do that, so do that for them, because that's a way you can love on an ADHDer. Another way you can love on an ADHDer is not shaming them for being late, because you know what's happening when they're late. You know that they meant to leave. They're like had this 20 extra minutes before they had to leave, and then decided that they could clean the whole house in that 20 minutes and realized and that's not actually possible. And so then they're running out the door. Or, like learning how to love an ADHD, and everyone's not the same. So you got to figure out what works best for your partner. But that compassion and understanding is going to be really important, because oftentimes ADHDers are really hard on themselves. So whatever you're going to say to them, they are saying probably 10 times worse to themselves every
Mhm.
moment of every day.
Yeah. We were talking about that too. It's like, holy cow, that inner voice, what'd you call it? The inner parent or whatever?
Inner critic, inner
Eh,
roommate.
the inner roommate. That was it. Yeah. It's like, man, it's brutal. Um, yeah. I mean, I love what you said about supporting them, um, in different ways. I like the water bottle thing. For me, my wife is all about, we talked a little bit about already, time management, you know, and not necessarily reminding me to do things, but asking me if I have, you know, this done. Because while as an ADHDer, I recognize I don't like structure, I know that I need structure. And that's a great way of her like recognizing that balance. When it comes to time management, what advice do you, or what is your experience with that, with time management for people who struggle with that?
Well, you got to learn your person, right? So mine, um, in my experience with Morris, he often wanted to get to places early. And he will just sit in his car while he's waiting, because then he's there and he's not having to be anxious about being there on time. But then he'll just like read a book or play a game or whatever while he's waiting to be ready for the thing. Um, so it's just figuring out what your person needs. So like you were just talking about the reminders, is like, okay, you have to establish what that means. Like, what is nagging versus what is a friendly reminder, and what is that difference? And that was something that Morris and I had a really hard time with, because it was, for him, it wasn't consistent. So I'd have to ask every time, like, okay, we talked about you doing this thing, would it be helpful for me to remind you about this in the future? And he might say yes or no. And so if he said no, then it's not my job to bring it up again.
Hmm.
Now, if it's something that's irking me, then that's a different conversation of like, okay, I know that you said you were going to take care of this. I had an expectation that it would have been done already. Was that unreasonable?
Hmm.
Maybe we didn't have a conversation about when it would be done. And now I just have this expectation in my head that you said you were going to take out the trash. And I thought that meant in the next hour. And you were like, I'll just do it before we go to bed.
I love that. Setting expectations.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I mean, and that should happen regardless, in my opinion, when in relationships.
You're not having those types of conversations when you're in the heat of the argument. You're having
Right.
those conversations when you love each other and you're like in a calm space and like, okay, so we don't want to do that again. How can we support each other through something like this in the future?
I love that. And then when you add a business to that, you have to be, or do you have to be? What do you think? Do you have to be? Can you say, it sounds to me, you can say the exact same thing in business and in marriage. You can say, hey, look, dude, like, our expectation, my expectation was this, you did this. So how can we change that in the future? What can we do to complement that, right? Or something like that?
Yeah. Well, and are you talking about like business within a marriage or business for yourself? Like, what are you?
So like like my wife and I, we have our own business. We're business partners together. So it's like you have that same discussion in marriage that you can in business, because it can affect, one is business, but it's like, it's still kind of your thing. It's your thing together.
Mhm.
You can have that same discussion, I think, in business with
Yeah.
your partner,
Well,
for sure.
and that's the conversation you get to have then when you're talking about business things with a person who also happens to be your wife. Like, okay, these are the things that need to be get done. How do we set ourselves up for success for that to happen? So,
Mm.
do you need a deadline? Do I need a deadline? Do we need to have very clear expectations of what does done mean?
See, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, there you go. What is your definition of done?
Yes, because everybody has a different definition. The kitchen being clean. Oh, Morris and I had very different definitions of that. He was cleaner than I was. I don't like cleaning. I hate cleaning. But that would be a different conversation. Like everybody has different levels of what clean is, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Like what does done look like? And the business stuff, when you work for yourself, nothing's ever done.
Yeah.
So it's like
Never.
what does done for this particular task look like? What does that mean?
I love it. Yes, 100%. Oh, 100%. Do you know of like what are some, being in a relationship with an ADHD? What are some misunderstandings about that relationship itself that people may not understand about what it's like living with a person that has ADHD? What are just some misunderstandings or misconceptions?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconception of this person doesn't care about me because of X. So like if Morris wasn't listening or he didn't empty the dishwasher like he said he was going to, or he said he was going to think about this thing and get back to me and never did, like I could internalize all of that as he doesn't care about me. He doesn't really care about me. And I will say, looking back on my relationship now, I recognize how much of my relationship I missed out on because I didn't fully understand that. Because like he chose to marry me. He could have married anybody, but he chose to marry me. How in the world am I so audacious enough to say that he doesn't care about me? That's crazy. That's crazy. But people do that all the time. I see it in relationships. Like, oh my gosh, he doesn't care about me because of blah, blah, blah. Like, no, this person is choosing to be in a relationship with you. They obviously care about you. So something must be going on with them. And to bring in more compassion and understanding and genuine curiosity. Like, if the thing didn't get done, maybe there's something going on in their world that you don't know about. And like we mentioned, ADHDers are really hard on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they were having a like super overstimulation day where everything just felt noisier and louder and brighter than normal. Because here's the thing you need to understand about ADHD: they don't filter out things. They hear everything. So if, like, while they're trying to have a conversation with you, they hear the refrigerator running and the heater running and the children running upstairs, and they're not filtering any of that out. And so to ask them to focus on whatever it is you're trying to tell them that is so damn important right now might not be an easy thing for them to do, because they're constantly taking all of the information in with all of their senses all at once. So it's not that they're not listening, it's not that they don't care. They actually really love and want to be doing, like, ADHDers hate making people disappointed. They will freeze doing things because they don't want to disappoint somebody, or they'll just get stuck in analysis paralysis because they don't want to disappoint somebody. So that is not the thing they're trying to do.
Where I'm glad you're talking about that. So what is a good way? I'm going to bring us to business now. So what is a good way for somebody to get the best out of their partner in business? Like, because yes, I've been there. I have been there, and I would do events. I will do things. I love being social, love being out there, but when it's done, I'm drained, and I could sleep. I could sleep for probably 2 days after, depending on the event.
Mhm.
So, but I can't do that. So what's a good way that somebody can support your partner, or use that, as you said, that superpower? And how do you tame that? How can you, am I making sense?
Yeah. Well, again, like, there's a lot of communication that has to happen. So, one, an ADHDer needs to know themselves, and so they need to ask for what they need. Sometimes they don't know how to do that. Just like sometimes I don't know how to do that. Asking for what we need and want is not an easy thing to do. And an ADHD, or something we haven't talked about yet, is something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Are you
Ooh,
familiar
what
with
is that?
Yeah. Um, Rejection sensitivity dysphoria, RSD, is something that many ADHDers struggle with, but it's essentially like rejection sucks for everybody, but for ADHDers, it's heightened. So anything that feels like they might be rejected in any way, there's an extra, like, they feel deeper about it. And so they'll do whatever they can to yet not be rejected. And they hate it so much that they don't reject other people and say no sometimes, because they don't want other people to feel rejection.
Oh, that's a thing. 100%.
Yeah. And so being mindful of that is, like, important to understand, but also, like, again, you guys are partners. Like, you're doing this thing together. And so it's us against the problem, not us against each other. And so how do we do that? Like, okay, I see that you have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. What is a way that feels better? And if I'm like, if you want to have sex and I don't, how the fuck do I turn you down in a way that doesn't feel like it's a personal attack on you? Because it's not.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
Yeah, it is, because in every relationship, one person
Yeah.
needs to have sex more than the other person does.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And so having the ability to have, like, a clear, again, you don't do this in the heat of the moment, but you talk about, like, okay, when I say I'm not in the mood or I'm not feeling it or whatever, that's not me rejecting you, but that's how often how people will take it. So it's like, okay, not me rejecting you. This is not what I want to be doing right now. But then it's like on the onus of the other person to then start to initiate sex the next time. Because, right? Like, you have to take ownership of the being intimate with each other.
I get that. Yeah, 100%. No, you're 100%. That's a good one. The other one is money. Money's another good one because I am not tight with my money. And I'm not like, but I'm one step below impulse
Mhm,
buyer.
mhm.
Only because I've learned and I'm older, but I used to be kind of impulse buyer. I think that's,
Very ADHD.
yeah, I was going to say, it's just the way it is, but like, I don't have buyer's remorse though. It's kind of weird. I don't have it. Like, nah, yeah, I got it. Okay. I don't like it anymore. Whatever. Like, it's so weird. Um, but when it comes to money, like, how would you tell a couple when they're talking about money and responsibility that way, especially if you own a business together? What would be your talk
Yeah.
with them?
I mean, that's the thing that Morris and I fought over all the time. Because we had very different relationships with money. Like, people are in relationship with money. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody's relationship with money is different, especially depending on how you grew up and what your values are and what your idea of safety, financial safety looks like. Everybody's is different. And so you have to get clear about what that is for each person and not make the other person wrong, but create an umbrella of like, what does that look like for both of us to feel safe? What does that look like? Because our relationships with money are going to be different. Now, I do all kinds of things with my clients to help change their relationship with money. And one of the things that I love doing is personifying money. Here's my little buddy. I realized that I have so much scarcity issues, so many. Growing up in the church, I grew up in the
Oh,
church.
well.
And we're told that, having money means you're like prideful and blah, 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 and I was going to be a teacher and I wasn't going to have any money. And so I had a lot of scarcity issues and my parents never talked about money, never. And so in my relationship, outside of my relationship, after it was over, I just had money, everything issues. And so I realized that it was like the scary monster in the closet that I wasn't allowed to talk about. So I got my little monster here. His name is George. He represents money for me. But I have clients who have other things. I have a client who has a crystal. I have a client who has a duck. But personifying money and start developing your relationship, because the way that we treat money is often how they are in our space. So if I'm scared and I'm gripping and I want to make sure we have all the money all the time and you can't leave, if you did that to any person in real life, of course they don't want to be in your space. You're not giving them the freedom to come and go. And so starting to talk about money like it's a real person and being like, oh, okay, so I'm not going to grip so tightly. Money gets to come and go. Money comes back. And like changing your relationship to money is going to change how you are with it in the world. And it sounds like for you, like you said, you don't have buyer's remorse because you have, I think in some regards, ADHDers have a beautiful relationship with money because they understand that it's just going to come back. Like it's not gone forever just because I spend it.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that's it. I've never worried about it ever, 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 ever. And it's even at the lowest of the low points in my life, like when money was scarce, when it was like nothing. I never had this fascination of going broke. You know what I mean? And I can't I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Uh, I'm a super spiritual woo-woo person, and I feel like some of that is just tied to your connection to the universe of like knowing that it just provides for you, just like the birds of the air are provided for. They have the berries and the nuts and the things, and like, and then winter happens and they go like, everything is just always provided for. It's the same, like the world operates that way. Now,
Yeah.
You can be impulsive and get yourself into some shitty situations. That's true. It's not
Sure.
always easy. But again, you have to learn how to be on the same page with each other and understand your part. Like the person who is more fearful of scarcity and money, like, okay, what does financial safety look like for you? What's the minimum amount of money that needs to be in our bank account for you to feel safe?
I love that question. That's a question that even if you don't have ADHD or whatever, like that's just a question you should ask each other. And like before you even get married. Like I'm serious. Like that's a question that you should ask. That would solve so many problems in marriages like from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can change. I mean, things can change. It can be fluid, but man, yeah, Jess, that's a great question that people should ask themselves.
Yeah. And it will change.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. This is my own thing. This is not like how I would coach people through it. This is my own opinion. But I'm of the opinion that each person should have their own bank account also.
We
Even
do.
if you have a joint account.
We do.
Because it's not the way you spend your money is not, I should not be able to dictate that.
We do. Yep.
I might think spending $10 on a coffee is stupid, but you should be able to do that if you fucking want to.
100%. And, it was my wife's idea, and she was the one, and it was really cool because we were getting out of, so I had lost my job and we were starting our own business. Things were great, but she was working her 9 to 5. And she was talking to me about how, she would say to me, well, you gotta get me out of here. You gotta get me out. It was on me to get her out of her 9 to 5. And then one day I forgot, she just read something and she's like, no, it's not up to Ben. It's not fair to Ben to get me out. I need to get myself out. And she did. And ever since then, it changed. But the bank accounts is like, hey, and I think more people, and I want to say specifically women, could benefit from that and being like, it's not the man's job to get you out. It's your job. You need to be able to do that. He can support you along the way, but.
Well, and let's talk for a second the ingrained programming of why women are that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like women couldn't have credit cards until what, 1970 something?
1970, yeah, 74, 73.
So it wasn't that long ago that women could have their own money. So they were 100% dependent on men to be able to survive.
Yeah.
So this programming shit is deep because
100%.
A generation ago was that like
no, you're right.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, I lost it.
No, you're good. No, it's fine. No, you're 100%. And I think it's hard because this is still, in my opinion, it's still ingrained. It's still part of, because this is relatively new. This whole new wave, this whole new feminism wave is still relatively new if you think about it. And there's a reason why a lot of women are depressed. There's a reason why there's a lot of depression this period. There's a reason why relationships don't last as long. It's because this is all still new. And that question that you asked before, we are torn between the Cinderella story and modern day feminism. We're torn. And when I say feminism, I'm going to get a lot of crap for that, but I don't mean it like that. But is it egalitarian? Like we're all equal, you know what I'm saying? Like equal, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're torn, we're still fighting that old traditional type. And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and every relationship is different. Like,
yes.
Once that's all. fits all, because there are some relationships where the man does make all of the money and the woman is in charge of all of the mental and emotional labor, and
And that's cool.
that's what they're doing.
And that's
There's
cool.
nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
That's what you want in your relationship. Sometimes it's reverse. Sometimes the woman is making all of the money and the man is taking care of the kids in the home. There's no right or wrong, but you have to be on the same page about
100%. I don't want to get it twisted. Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like I'm in favor of one thing or the other. What I'm saying is, like, in society, just in period, we're dealing with that, and there's a tug of war.
Yes, and that's where you have to take ownership of what it is that you guys are deciding in your relationship together. And this is the thread that I forgot. But have you heard of the drama triangle?
No.
Okay. Drama triangle, for those of you who are just listening and not watching, I'll try to explain it really good. But drama triangle, you think of a triangle, has 3 points. One of the points you have the hero, and one of the points you have the victim, and one of the points you have the villain. And you can play in the drama triangle all by your fucking self. Right? We talked about the dishwasher thing, right, earlier. So I could make Morris the villain of that story without him being in the room. Like, I'm having this conversation by myself, walk into the kitchen, see all the cabinets open and the dishwasher half emptied, and I'm like, what the fuck? He said he was going to do the thing. What was me? I'm a victim because now I can't do the thing I walked into the kitchen to do. And so now I'm going to hero the story, and I'm going to just fucking put all the dishes away passive aggressively and be angry about it. Right? I'm playing in the drama triangle all by myself. And we do that all the time with our spouses, with our partners. And to get out of the drama triangle, there's the opposite of each corner. So the opposite of the victim is the creator. The opposite of the villain is the challenger. And the opposite of the hero is the coach. And those energies are so nuanced and so subtle. So subtle. And this is not a thing that I could teach on in and out. Like, this is a thing that I have taken years to start to understand the drama triangle. But once you start seeing it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. People are playing in the drama triangle all the time. And it's like, again, it's not us against each other, it's us against the problem. So to coming out of the drama triangle, it's like, I was really good at heroing everything. Being the hero is not... Like, we think of that as a good thing because of the way that stories are written. Like, I'm going to save the day. But there's a lot of negative shit about being the hero when nobody asked you. Nobody asked you to come save the day. So now I'm going to resent you for doing now someone's resenting me for what I thought was I was doing something good. They didn't ask me to do that. And so now I'm just creating drama for no fucking reason in my relationship.
Wow. I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, you got to send that to me. I want to include that in the podcast and have a visual for people.
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. So do you coach people? Do you coach people to recognize it in themselves, or other people first, or both?
In themselves. That's the thing. We can only control ourselves. So if I'm talking to you, I'm going to talk to you about how you're in the drama triangle. We can't do anything about what your wife is doing in this conversation. This is about what you're doing. So if you're coming in and I'm going to hero and save the day, she didn't ask me to, then of course it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
She doesn't need you to save her.
Yeah.
What we do when we're in that hero position, we're actually making the other person less than, like they're not capable. But if we actually step in as the coach in that scenario, we recognize that that person is a powerful creator and they get to create whatever they want.
That's fantastic. Wow. I wonder how we can apply that to if you're in business together. Probably pretty simple.
Oh, sure. What's something that's been frustrating?
It's always marketing. It's always typically there's one who's the creative, and one who is the day-to-day dollar and cents.
So
And
fighting against The like what we should do versus being creative, or like what's the
But it could be any of that. Yeah, it could be, you know, it could be where the creative person asks for advice or input, and the input is is like, well, you're the creative one, you decide. Why do you want my, like, you're the one who takes care of that. And that happens more often. And experience with me, yeah, kind of, but other people who complain about that. That's a common thing, by the way.
Yeah. Well, and that's again, clarity is kind. So if you're asking for input, what does that mean? Asking somebody for their feedback could mean 1,000 things. And so when I have people do that all the time. They're like, I'll be in Facebook groups where I watch people are like, I need feedback on this. What do you need feedback about?
Yeah, that's a good point.
About the context, about what it looks like, about how it feels, how it resonates with me, the spelling, like what kind of feedback are you actually looking for? Because that changes depending on what it is you're needing.
Yeah.
You don't need feedback on the creativity. What you need feedback on is like, okay, you know our fucking audience. Is this going to relate to them? Does this resonate? What am I missing?
Yeah. Or am I looking for just
Approval.
approval?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, I want to show you this thing I did. Can you tell me I did a good job?
Yep. That's yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Without saying that.
Yes, but you can. Like, I'm really, really excited about this. I actually don't need any feedback. I just am looking for someone to be excited with me.
I love that.
Clarity is kind.
That's fantastic. No, that's right. Because yeah.
But you have to know yourself in order to be able to do that. And the problem is most people don't know themselves well enough to be that clear.
Yeah. And how do you expect to connect with somebody else if you don't even know who you are?
Yes, that part. And that is the thing in my book that is so clear, is like, looking back on my marriage now, I'm like, it must have been so fucking hard to be married to me because I didn't even love myself. How could someone love me if I don't even love me? I'm expecting them to give me all of the love, and that's an unfair expectation because I'm asking them to fill my cup and overflow it when I'm not even doing that for myself. It's unreasonable and so hard. But now that I know myself better, and I've learned to, like, I have loved the shit out of myself now, and I'm like falling in love with myself more and more every day, and it's so fucking cool, and it's very evident in my being. And then I watch other people in my life who are excited about that, because there's also this like thing about the more I glow up, the more pompous or arrogant or whatever I'm gonna be, and I can't be that. Like, no, actually, it's infectious. I see, like, my friends tell me that all the time. Every time I'm like excited about things, they're like, "Oh my god, it's so fun to see you excited."
Yeah. Well, when I first met you, we were at ThriveCon. It was like you're super excited. Your passion for what you do comes out. You are like an open book, no pun intended. But you are an open book with your passion about what you do.
Yeah. And that's part of who I am, and that's part of, have you heard of human design?
Yes.
I highly recommend human design to anybody who's listening to this. I do human design sessions too.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But it's a combination of astrology and other things that teach you about your being's energy and how it functions in the world. And there's a lot of very detailed things you can learn about human design, but the first layer of it is your design type. So you're either a manifester, a manifesting generator, reflector, or projector. And each of those tells you your strategy in the world. So as a projector, your strategy in the world is to wait for an invitation. As a reflector, your strategy is to wait 28 days to make a big decision, the lunar cycle. If you're a manifesting generator or manifester, your strategy in the world is to respond. And if you're a manifester, your strategy is to inform. But none of those are how society teaches us to move in the world.
Now, remind me, that's the one where you have to know where you were born, when you were born, the time you were born, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. My daughter is a reflector. Yeah. That's what that lady did. Yes. That's what Kathy did.
Reflectors are only 1% of the population.
Yes. That's what she said. That's exactly like, and she goes, wow. Yeah. Okay. Holy cow.
Reflectors are very special.
She was like crying. I go, where are you crying?
Yeah. Reflectors are very special.
I don't know what I am, but I didn't check.
Yeah, and if you don't know what time you were born, it might, depending on where and when you were born, it might be on your birth certificate. Your mom might know.
Yeah.
There are ways to figure it out, but
No. But before we go, I want you to promote yourself, but give somebody who is having with their partner, give me one piece of advice that can be used, and maybe we talked about it already, but something new then that can be used in both their marriage and their business around communication. And it doesn't have to be ADHD related, just advice. Period.
marriage and business around communication.
Yeah.
Over communicating or over planning is a problem. Oftentimes in relationships, the relationship becomes all about planning and strategy and the day-to-day blah blah blah, and you forget to connect with each other. And that's a lot of the times why the arguments and the things happen, because you're not actually connecting, you're just managing all the time. And so I learned this through the Hendricks Institute, where I got my coaching certification. These lovely, amazing couple, Gay and Katie Hendricks. They haven't argued in like 30 years. And one of the things that they do, and mind you, they're older now, so it depends on where you are in life and if you have kids, but they only have a 10 to 20 minute planning meeting once a week. They don't talk about logistics any other time except during that space of time.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. You ever hear the term what is it? This is stupid. But like people who fill out their, do you watch March Madness or anything? They're,
I don't.
Okay, it's okay. But you know what it is.
Yes.
People fill out a bracket.
Yeah.
There's a saying, it says, think long, think wrong. The more you think about it, you're going to be wrong most of the time. It's just do it, look at it, talk about it, and just fill it out. Don't analysis paralysis. Don't do that.
Yeah. And if you have specific space, and you know at this point in time, this is when we talk about logistics, and then you're not hounding your person. You're not parenting the other person. You're existing and being together and enjoying each other rather than managing or parenting or whatever your whole lives together. Because that's boring and not fun.
Wow. I love that. It's been a freaking over an hour already. Can you believe that?
Yes.
I want you to promote yourself. So talk about anything you want to. This is your chance. Your book, your class, your coaching, just do the whole thing.
Okay. My website is jessdubose.com, and you can find the things on there, or you can find me on social media at Coaching with Jess on all platforms, I believe. And my book is on Amazon. I Don't Hate My Ex-Husband. The audio is almost done, so that'll be coming out in the near future.
Is it your voice?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. I am very familiar that lots of people learn differently, so I try to be mindful of that. Like if you look at the blogs that I have on my website, you can just listen to me read it to you if that is a better.
Oh, that's cool.
take in information. I have a show on YouTube called the ADHD Roundtable. So if you are a person with ADHD or have a spouse with ADHD, you will learn a lot about ADHDers just listening, because I get 2 to 4 people on every episode, and we just talk about what it's like to have ADHD, the experience. We talk about all kinds of things on that platform. There's like 20 episodes out on that. So, and then for offering, I have work with people one-to-one. I also have a group container called Magic. Magnificent ADHDers Growing in Community. It's $10 a month. We have its own app platform for you to connect with other ADHDers, and we have a group coaching session once a month. And then the thing that I'm like most excited about right now, I have a course I've been developing about the 7 types of rest for ADHDers. I think in our society, people fucking suck at resting, because even when they look like they're resting, they're not, because they're going through the to-do list or shaming themselves because they should be doing something else, and that is not rest. That is not rest. And then we wonder why we are not able to get all of the things that we want to be doing, is because our beings require rest. But rest doesn't mean sleeping and sitting still necessarily. There's different types of resting for your mental rest, creative rest, sensory rest, etc., etc. So in the course that I'm almost done with, it's for pre-sale. You can buy it at a very low price right now. Is like we go through and talk about the different types of rest and how to rest in that way, and here like practical rest experiments you can try to see if they work and fit for you.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Jess, you are awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm kind of bummed, and maybe we can save it for a different time, but we never even talked about medication, like Adderall and stuff, because I've had Adderall. I've been on it, and I'm off of it. I don't take it anymore, but I would like to know what you think about it, but we don't have to go there right now. That's just, go ahead.
The summary of mine is that medication is a very personal choice. About 50% of my clients are on it, and 50% of them are not. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's every body is different.
Right. Yeah. It for me, it did more harm than good. I'll just say it like that. Yeah. For me, yeah. I know people who are on it to this day, and they're functional, they're fine. For me, it did more harm than good.
Yeah. I have a couple episodes on my roundtable where we talk about stuff like that.
Awesome. Cool. Can you come back again? Talk more?
I would love to.
That would be freaking awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Appreciate you. And again, Jess, please look her up. I'll have all of her information on the show notes. So, all right. Thank you. We'll see you later.